Bonjour à tous. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Frenchtastic Food channel, the channel where I share with you every week some simple family style French cuisine. Today we've got apples, we've got crust, we're going to make an apple pie. Well, not the regular apple pie. We're gonna turn it upside down and make a tarte tatin. And not the regular tarte tatin, a very special one. So if you want to know more about this unique way to make a wonderful, delicious tarte tatin, stay with me. All right, so the one thing I need to tell you is I've actually spent another week baking some different types of tarte tatin, different crusts, different apple types. I know the one I want to share with you because it actually gave us the best results. This is a unique way of making a tarte tatin. We're gonna use this baby here. Alors, today we're preparing this tarte tatin, and I'm sure you've already checked out Google, YouTube. You have tons of different recipes out there. The one that I'm sharing with you today, I'm sure is a little bit different than anything else you've seen. What is different? Paul Bocuse had a recipe that he was using a Dutch oven for, and so I looked into this. And it's just amazing because you cook those apples into the Dutch oven and they are just incredible. The one problem with that is a Dutch oven. Let me show you. The one I have here is huge, right? And you certainly don't want to have a tarte tatin this size. So I just got myself a new braiser, and it's the same thing. It's a cast iron braiser, and it's just perfect. And for the crust, I'm gonna use the shortbread crust recipe that you'll find in the description below. There's a link here. I have a specific video for that. It literally takes 15 minutes. So let's go through the different steps. Okay, so how many steps do we have? Let me think. The first thing is actually to make the caramel. Very simple. You will put the cast sugar into a pan and on high heat and let it melt, and then add butter on this. Then it's all about the apples. You have to cut the apples and you will put the apples on top of the caramel. The last part is really about putting the crust on top of everything and putting everything into the oven. Let's go through the details now. For your apples, you can use Juna Gold, Honeycrisp, Golden Delicious, or Gala. I'll be using brown cane sugar, but regular sugar works just fine. And my personal touch is to use salted butter. So to make that caramel is actually super simple. You just have to pour the sugar into a pan, put it on a high heat for a little while, and it will melt by itself. When the sugar starts melting, foaming, and bubbling, that is the time to add the butter. And then and only then can you use a spoon to stir the mix. And when the butter is all melted, you can use a whisk. That will allow you to get to that creamy caramel texture that everybody knows. It is fairly simple. The one thing you want to do is do not use any utensil while the sugar is melting. Let it melt slowly and then add the butter, and that's where you have to whisk. From there, very simple again, you take that caramel and you pour it into your braiser. So let me show you the braiser here. That's the one that we're going to use. It's a cast iron braiser and it's a 2.5 quart. So very simple. You pour the caramel into this, and this is what will go in the oven eventually with the apples. very simple. Now we have our apples and our caramel onto the braiser, You put the lid back on and you put it in the oven, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will stay there. I would say 45 minutes, but it really depends on how you like your apples on your apple pie. All right, so far so good. Our apples just spent about an hour in my oven, and what we're going to do now is just take the braiser out of the oven and let this whole thing cool down for about 10-15 minutes. After 10 to 15 minutes, you can actually, if you want, put it in the fridge for an additional hour or so. Then after 1 hour, it will be the time to put the crust on top of everything. One little trick here, if you want to see if your crust is large enough, just use the lid of the braiser. And here you can see that my crust is actually a tiny bit too small. Here you go, that's better now. And once your crust is actually at the right size, my advice would be to roll it around the rolling pin and then unroll it over the dish. And don't hesitate to push the crust along the sides of the dish. You'll see some juice. This is normal. You can remove a little bit of it, but it will disappear in the oven later on. Remove the excess of crust and you're ready to go. Et voilà les amis, look at this. Beautiful, isn't it? You can still see the caramel bubbling all around the dish. And now comes the most interesting part of the recipe. You have to turn this thing upside down. And you want to do this while the tatin is still warm enough. Hey, just be super careful. Your braiser is super hot. Hey, what do you think? Not too bad, huh? Et voilà les amis. Here you have it, your beautiful tarte tatin. So it may be an unusual way to make it, but you know what? When you test it, you can actually tell the difference. It will melt in your mouth, and it's just phenomenal. So you're ready to enjoy a couple of things. You want to enjoy it warm. Just put it in the oven just a few minutes before enjoying it. You'll see it's going to be much better. And then you have an important choice to make. Is it going to be vanilla ice cream, or is it going to be just cream, simple cream? I use heavy cream. That's my personal preference here. And of course, this recipe uses a braiser. You can use a Dutch oven as in the original recipe from Paul Bocuse. If you don't have either one of them, hey, feel free to use a baking dish. Just make sure that the baking dish will be able to retain the juices. You do not want to lose those juices, I'm telling you. And I think I'm ready now, just the best thing ever. A short Italian espresso and a beautiful tarte tatin. So hope you enjoy, and I'll see you soon. À très bientôt. Au revoir.